and thank you for joining me for this episode of Totally TM called My Father's Mitt. My father was a big man and he loved sports. He taught my brother and I how to throw a football and throw a baseball. Now, when he had died in 2002, a couple of months after 9/11, he wasn't so big. At 85, he had shrunk a little bit, maybe 6 foot. But in 1935, according to the high school yearbook, my father was the tallest person in the school. In fact, he was taller than all of the teachers. And I looked at this yearbook and I looked at some of the team sports that Dad played on. I looked at the basketball picture. I looked at the lacrosse picture. And I looked at the football picture. And sure enough, it looked to me from these photos that Dad was in fact the tallest person on the teams, and indeed, if one is to believe the yearbook, in the school. In about 1955, when Dad got home from his New York City job as treasurer of a small fabric firm, about 7 p.m., we'd go in the backyard and play catch. And I fancied myself at 9 years of age to become a pitcher, and Dad would encourage me to throw as hard as I could. In those days, I had a new Rawlings baseball mitt that Dad taught me how to oil, to soften it up, and then put a baseball in it, and take a rubber band and put the mitt on the shelf in the closet, and then overnight, or over a few days, the mitt would soften up and form a nice pocket in it so that you could really snag the baseball. That was my mitt. Now, in contrast, Dad's mitt looked more like a squashed, five-legged spider. I think it must have been left over from his high school days in 1935. Nonetheless, Dad would get in the backyard and squat down like a catcher and say, "Doug, throw it as hard as you can." Wow, wow. After a few weeks of this, Dad went into the house one day when we were playing catch and came out with a sponge from Mom's kitchen. And he proceeded to put the sponge inside the mitt, between the palm of his hand and the face of the mitt. And then he said, "Now throw it to me, Doug." Wow. Wow. I do believe in retrospect that maybe all of this was to make me feel better about how fast I was pitching, when in fact I wasn't pitching very fast. Nonetheless, at dinner that night, after Dad put the sponge in his squashed, five-legged spider of a mitt, he admitted that it felt better. Those were very happy times with my father, so big and so tender. Thank you for watching this episode of Totally TM.